Have you heard the sports cliche that football is a game of two halves? The cliche comes from the fact that the fortunes of each team can dramatically reverse between the two halves. So what happens at halftime to change the trend of a game so dramatically? Is it the crowd, a motivational speech by the coach, or a spectacular play by one team or the other that seems to change the psychology of the game? Well, I don't know the answer. But a good question is, does this same phenomenon impact the stock market? Well, let's take a look. This is the chart of the S&P 500 going back to at least early April. And this is a trend that was pointed out in a recent article by Zero Hedge. And going back to the beginning of April, you can see that the first half of each month, the stock market rose. And then in the second half of the respective month, the stock market declined. And the pattern became much more visible in April, but it did extend back into early 2018, as we'll see here later. So what's happening here in the middle of the month to change the direction of the stock market so dramatically? Let's go to the next chart. At least to me, this doesn't seem to be anything all that new, simply because charting is looking for patterns. And I find lots of patterns in lots of different stocks, and this seems to be odd for Zero Hedge and perhaps others, but for me it's not odd. I like to look for these things, and you've seen them before as I've pointed them out. And it is, though, interesting, at least the way it's been going, is this is just a step pattern where you get one or two steps up and then a step back down. So two steps forward and one step back. Nothing all that unusual. And in the weekly updates that I've shown you, I have shown you that we are in a channel, at least the S&P is in a channel that seems to head on up to the top of the channel and then gets reflected back down to the bottom of the channel, and the channel is heading up in a diagonal direction. So again, this is really nothing new to me, but it is somewhat interesting. And they've done the math, and in the run-up in the first half of each month, on average, it's been an increase of 1.62%. And then when in the second half the market fell, on average it fell about 1.07%. And as you can see here in this chart, the pattern more or less started in January of 2018. And this chart here shows the actual market, the S&P 500. The top chart is March, April, May, and June, and then it's shaded. The first half is a light green, and the second half is sort of a pink color. And you can see here that it's not exactly half, but close enough. And if I click this here, we can see a closer chart. And there you are. You can see that there in the first half, headed on up, and the second half, headed back down. That was March. Here's April into May. And then the last month is June. If you can see that, it's probably cutting off a little bit of the bottom of the chart, but you get the idea. I'll click back here again, and all of the charts show here. Let's go to the next chart. And then this last chart here is July, and as we are now on the 16th of July, we're into the second half of the month. So the first half, we headed on up. So the question is, what's going to happen in the second part of the half? Well, I'd love to hear your comments. Marco, let me know what's going to happen in the second half of July 2018. I'd love to hear all your comments. Feel free to write your comments, and I will respond. So for today, that's ChewDog Charts. Thank you.